Russia has replaced some S-300 and S-400 air defense systems in the Far East with dummies, Japanese OSINT analysts concluded after analyzing satellite images and other open-source data. Their findings were shared with Andrii Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. Kovalenko pointed out that Japanese OSINTers discovered that Russia had replaced part of the S-400 and S-300 air defense launchers in the Far East with mock-ups. I note that according to available information, Russia has indeed moved part of the air defense from the Far East closer to the European part of Russia, namely to the port of Ust-Luga, the Engels, Savasleika airfields, and to the other Moscow region. The head of the Central Election Commission of the National Security and Defense Council noted. Earlier, according to his data, Russia kept approximately 24 S-400 launchers and 12 S-300 launchers in the Far East. Now their number there has decreased, Kovalenko said. Recall the defense forces of Ukraine continue to eliminate Russian manpower and equipment every day. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, 1,157 air defense systems have already been destroyed since the beginning of the Russian invasion in February 2022. It was recently reported that Ukraine's 15th Artillery Reconnaissance Brigade destroyed a Bucha missile system valued at $45 million. Recall, Russian occupiers have started to massively and chaotically move equipment and air defense throughout Crimea, according to Atesh agents. This may indicate panic, rather than increased security measures. According to information from our agents among the servicemen of the Russian armed forces, they are trying to strengthen security measures in Crimea. But on the ground, everything boils down to moving equipment back and forth without a specific plan. And it looks more like panic to report back to the superiors about the measures taken. The situation resembles the period 2023 to 2024, when Crimea was actively targeted, the Atesh Post says. We continue to monitor the actions of the Rashists on the peninsula and transmit all important information to the defense forces of Ukraine. In every city, we have eyes that cannot be escaped, the movement's partisans added.
In a show of unity in Ukraine on Saturday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz were among leaders from 4 major European countries pushing for a 30-day Ukraine-Russia ceasefire starting Monday. According to Associated Press, the leaders, from France, the United Kingdom, Germany and Poland said in Kiev that the proposal to start the ceasefire on Monday was supported by US President Donald Trump, whom they had briefed over the phone earlier in the day. The demand was announced in a joint press conference with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and countries leading the so-called Coalition of the Willing, a group of over 30 countries who have pledged to strengthen Ukraine to deter Russian aggression. They included French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who on Saturday traveled to Ukraine together for the first time. During the briefing, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the leaders agreed to ramp up sanctions and increase our military aid for Ukraine's defense to pressure Russia back to the table. The ceasefire would include a halt to fighting on land, sea, and in the air. The leaders threatened to ratchet up sanctions, including on Russia's energy and banking sectors, if Putin did not comply. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz stressed that, if Russia refuses this ceasefire, then we will continue to defend Ukraine and we will continue to increase the pressure on Russia. Saturday marked the last day of a unilateral 3-day ceasefire declared by Russia that Ukraine says the Kremlin's forces have repeatedly violated.
So we are clear. All 5 leaders here, all the leaders of the meeting we just had with the Coalition of the Willing, an unconditional ceasefire, rejecting Putin's conditions, and clear that if he turns his back on peace, we will respond. Working with President Trump, with all our partners, we will ramp up sanctions and increase our military aid for Ukraine's defence to pressure Russia back to the table. We want to help Ukraine look to the future with confidence. So we're working to boost Ukraine's economy, and as a vital step, I'm pleased that UK experts have been on the ground leading work to support the resumption of flights into Ukraine once the ceasefire is achieved. It will take time, but this will be a huge moment in reconnecting Ukraine's economy, boosting investor confidence, and helping to reunite families separated by this war. There must be an unconditional ceasefire for 30 days. Clear that that means it must be without conditions, because Putin's response to the call for an unconditional ceasefire is to say, well, I could do a ceasefire, but with conditions on it. So we've been really clear today in rejecting that.
Deutlich in Aussicht gestellt, jetzt sind Sie Bundeskanzler, werden Sie da was anderes machen?
Und ich bin persönlich am Ende dieser Woche auch ein Stück bewegt, dass es mir als Bundeskanzler der Bundesrepublik Deutschland heute erlaubt ist, in diesem Kreis hier zu stehen und zusammen mit dem polnischen Ministerpräsidenten, dem britischen Premierminister und dem französischen Staatspräsidenten, unserem Freund und Partner, dem Präsidenten der Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenski, nicht nur unsere volle Solidarität und Unterstützung zum Ausdruck zu bringen, sondern in dieser schwierigen Phase eines schon seit über 3 Jahren andauernden Kriegs, an einem fast schon historischen Tag zu sagen, wir stehen fest und bleiben fest an der Seite der Ukraine.
And your question goes to?
Und wir sind dankbar, dass der amerikanische Präsident voll und ganz unsere Initiative unterstützt, sie teilt und sie mit uns auch gemeinsam ergreift. Wir arbeiten gemeinsam darauf hin, dass Russland sich endlich auf einen längeren Waffenstillstand einlässt, statt immer wieder neue Vorbedingungen zu stellen. Wir haben mit Präsident Zelenski heute darüber beraten, wie die nächsten Schritte hin zu einem echten Frieden aussehen können. Der erste Schritt muss über den Waffenstillstand des Wochenendes hinaus ein 30-tägiger Waffenstillstand ab Montag der nächsten Woche sein, der unkonditioniert von Russland eingehalten wird. Es muss klar sein, wenn Russland sich diesem Waffenstillstand verweigert, einem Waffenstillstand, der die Grundlage für sofort beginnende Verhandlungen sein kann, dann werden wir die Ukraine weiter verteidigen und wir werden den Druck auf Russland weiter erhöhen. Auch das gehört zum heutigen Tag dazu.